Good.
Good. I hope so. All the time. Wish you all the best. Now, we are going to start reading Comprehension 2, Unit number 9. If you please get ready with your books. And you can also share from the screen and look at it. Activity number 1, can you read, Fadi?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Look at the picture and the quotation. Then discuss the question below.
Okay, so read the quotation, please, below.
What do you know about dragons?
No, not the question, the quotation at the bottom of the page.
Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragon can be beaten.
Okay, and what can we see in the picture?
A dragon.
A dragon. So the fairy stories are more than true, which means they are 100%, more than 100% true. Not because they tell us something that about dragons, for example, that they exist, but because they tell us that we can beat them. Now, what do you know about dragons, everybody?
They fly.
Okay.
They spread fire from their mouth.
It's dangerous.
Okay. Other ideas?
They're imaginary.
They are imaginary. You
They
can
have
look.
claws.
Yes. Come on, you can continue.
They have scales.
Yes. So part of it, they blow fire out of or from their mouths. They are dangerous and they can fly.
They are huge.
They are huge. Okay, other ideas. So you can add more ideas, as many as you wish. Question number 2, Muhammad Nazal.
How can a fairy story be more than true?
If you look at the quotation, the last sentence, you can make it. How can they be?
Dragons can be beaten.
Okay, that's one idea. They tell us that dragons can be beaten. What else? Joyce? Faris Usama, how can they be more than true?
Remove all the dragons off.
Okay. Alice? Now, one of the ideas, you can look at it here, when they teach us a moral or a lesson, they can be more than true. If you look at the last sentence, they tell us that dragons can be beaten. So we can do it. We can change. We can do something. It's a moral. You are strong. You are powerful. Go on. Keep going in life. Number 3. Joyce, read the question, please.
What do you think children can learn from hearing and reading stories?
Yes. What can children learn? Yeah.
Dragons.
Any story. If you read a story for a child, or if you let them read a story, what can he learn from the story?
Learn facts. Learn who is characters.
Okay. What other ideas? They can learn.
Make him brave.
Yeah, say that again, please.
Make him brave.
They can become brave. They learn a moral. They learn a lesson. So stories teach the children, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah. Look at the answer here. So can you read that, Joyce? Because you read the question.
مش طالع عندي. حطيت الجواب.
Yes.
هي. They learn to ask questions. They improve at the speaking and reading. They get good exam results. They learn to use their imagination.
Okay, now we are going to explain this. They learn to ask questions. When they are reading the story, if they stop for a moment, they will ask, what will happen next? What's going to happen? Where is that? How is that, for example? They'll improve at speaking because they hear words, their dictionary widens, gets larger. So they become able to speak and they become able to read more. they get good exam results. If they become good at speaking, good at reading, they will be good at their exams in English, Arabic, math, science, everything. And they learn to use their imagination, especially if stories are imaginary. If they are not more than, if they are more than true. For example, the stories about dragons. So we have 3 questions and 3 answers. You can just screenshot them so that you can write them before we move to the next part. Done?
Yes.
Okay, now next slide. Read the text quickly, then answer the question. Is this text a news story, an interview, or an academic essay? If you look at the story and look at the first paragraph, what kind of thing will it be? A news story from a newspaper, an interview with someone for a job, for example, or an academic essay?
Maybe an academic essay.
Yes, an academic essay, number 3. Now, highly intelligent stories. Paragraph number 1, read it, please, Faris.
أي واحدة.
أول فقرة.
Yeah. Some people worry that folk tales and fairy tales, fairy stories encourage children to believe things that can happen in the real world. The highly praised children writer Gillian Paulson couldn't disagree more. Stories, she says, help to develop a child's imagination. One of the main points of these stories, she explains, is that they don't happen in the real world. Once children have visited the other world, stories describe they are never quite the same. They learn to question the world they live in, see around them, and perhaps to change it.
Okay, now, thank you. If you look at the paragraph again, some people worry that folk tales and fairy stories encourage children to believe things that can't happen in the real world. This is a general idea or impression in the world. Now, what does Mrs. Paulson think? What's her opinion? Does she agree or disagree with the idea in the first sentence?
She agrees.
She couldn't disagree more. Does she agree or disagree? Look at it. Yes?
She disagree.
She disagrees. She doesn't believe that this is true. So what's her opinion? The next sentence. What does she think?
Stories help to develop a child's imagination.
That's it. So she thinks that stories are good for children because they help them to develop their imagination. Now, question number 3 at the top. What do they learn once they read stories or listen to them? Last sentence in the
They
text.
learn to question the world they see around them and perhaps to change it.
So they learn to question the world, ask questions about it, and perhaps try to change the world. So they become leaders if they want to change the world, really. Now, 3 different ideas. People think that fairy tales and fairy stories make children believe things that don't happen in the real world. She disagrees with that. She thinks that they help children's imagination because children will learn to question the world and perhaps try to change it. Now, do children change really when they read stories? According to the first paragraph.
Not all of the children.
Look at the paragraph. It's your opinion, not all the children. But according to paragraph number 1, look at this sentence. Once children have visited the other world, stories describe, they are never quite the same. So do they change or not change?
Yes, they change.
They change. So if you read stories for children or choose stories for children, suggest them reading when they are able to read, when they can read, they learn to question the world and they try to change it. Once they visit the world in the story, they use their imagination, they think, and then they are never quite the same. They become new, different people. Now, paragraph number 2, Alice, read that, please.
She is not alone in this opinion. The great scientist Albert Einstein once said, "If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." Research has shown that children who grown up hearing and later reading stories are much more likely to get good exam results, not just in language but also in maths and science.
So this is another person who supports the same idea that stories help change the children. Now, what does he think, Mr. Einstein? What does he think?
To get intelligent, you have to read more fairy stories or fairy tales.
For your children, or let them read them, yes? Now,
Yes.
how can you help children get intelligent then? Question number one at the top
By
here.
reading
By
fairy
read
tales
them
for them.
every
Yes, that's great. By reading them fairy tales. Now, if you want them to be more intelligent, what should you do?
read them more fairy tales.
More
Read
fairy
more
tales.
fairy tales. That's great. Now, the last question here. What effects can these stories have on children? Why should you read them fairy tales or fairy stories?
To get the good
To
results.
get a good exam.
Yes.
Result.
Of hearing and later reading.
Okay, they become good at reading and they get good exam results, not only in language, but also in math and science.
Okay.
Who can say that again, Fadi?
They get good exam results not just in language but also in maths and science.
Thank you very much. Now, Tiba, paragraph number 3. Are you there, Tiba? Ready? So, Sally, paragraph 3. Guys, Ru'a. What's happening? Why are you there,